And by George, that bombshell from the royal family tonight, another royal baby on the way. This was Kate Middleton 4 weeks ago, one of her last public appearances. The world didn't know then that she was pregnant.
What if everything you thought you knew about Princess Catherine was only half the story? Behind the palace walls, away from cameras and tradition, a deeply personal transformation has taken place, one that could quietly reshape the future of the monarchy.
And this is the thing, is that every family is different.
Yeah.
And the pressures that we all face are different, whilst raising the importance of early childhood.
From a hidden pregnancy to a rare moment of vulnerability, this is not the royal story you've seen before. In early 2025, reports began to emerge that Catherine had stepped away from a number of public engagements. At first, royal watchers assumed it might be related to her recovery from a recent hospital stay. Then, rumors circulated about possible health concerns. For weeks, speculation built quietly, but there was no official confirmation of what was really happening. Eventually, it became clear that the truth was both unexpected and carefully kept from the public. Catherine had been pregnant with her fourth child, a development that had not been announced through any of the usual royal channels. There had been no official statement, no carefully staged photo opportunities, and no media briefings. Instead, the entire experience had been kept entirely private, known only to a small circle of family members and palace staff. This level of secrecy marked a significant departure from the way royal pregnancies are typically handled. In the past, the announcement of a new royal baby was treated as a national event, followed by months of public anticipation. Media outlets tracked every detail, from baby names to hospital locations. But this time was different. The decision to keep the pregnancy private was deliberate, shaped by a desire for personal space in a life that often allows very little of it. According to insiders close to the couple, the choice was not made lightly. After more than a decade of dealing with constant attention, endless media commentary, and frequent public judgment, Catherine and William decided they needed a different approach. This child, they felt, should be welcomed into the world in peace. It wasn't about turning away from their roles. It was about making room for their family life in a way that felt safe and manageable. When the baby was eventually born, the birth itself also broke with royal tradition. It reportedly took place at St. Mary's Hospital in London, but not in the usual, highly visible setting associated with previous royal births. There were no photographers waiting outside, no royal easel announcing the baby's arrival, and no official press release. Only a select group of people were present, including a trusted medical team and Prince William. What followed, however, was even more revealing than the secrecy of the birth. Those close to the couple later shared a moment that stood out, a brief but emotional exchange between Catherine and William shortly after the birth. As she held the baby in her arms, surrounded by quiet and away from the usual pressures of public life, Catherine turned to her husband and expressed a deep sense of emotion. It wasn't just joy or relief. It was a moment that seemed to reflect everything she had been carrying internally. She reportedly said just 4 words. They haven't been quoted directly in most outlets, but the essence was unmistakable. She felt overwhelmed, not in the sense of regret or crisis, but as someone who had reached the limits of what could be handled quietly. It was a human response to an intense period of life, one marked by personal changes, physical recovery, and the ongoing demands of royal duty. This moment didn't take place in front of cameras or crowds. There was no script. But the people who witnessed it or heard about it later recognized it as something significant. It was an insight into the weight Catherine had been carrying for years, juggling motherhood, public expectations, and her role within one of the world's most closely watched institutions. Catherine has long been admired for her calm presence and dedication to her work. Since marrying Prince William in 2011, she has taken on a growing list of royal duties, often with a steady hand and a warm demeanor. Her ability to connect with the public, through her support of mental health charities, early childhood development projects, and her own down-to-earth style, has earned her widespread respect. But behind the scenes, like anyone else, she has faced the same challenges many working mothers deal with. finding time, managing stress, and trying to be present for her children while honoring professional obligations. What makes her situation more complex is the visibility that comes with being a senior member of the royal family. Every decision she makes, every outfit she wears, every appearance she attends, it's all analyzed in real time. Over time, that pressure adds up. Even the most composed public figures can feel the strain. Friends of the couple have described this period as one of quiet recalibration. The decision to keep the pregnancy private wasn't just about avoiding media attention, it was also about creating space for reflection. After years of following protocol and meeting expectations, Catherine and William were choosing to draw their own boundaries, if only temporarily. This change in approach may also reflect a broader shift happening within the royal family. As younger members take on more responsibility and adapt to a changing public landscape, there's been more openness to doing things differently. Tradition remains important, but so does well-being, especially for those raising the next generation of royals. That said, this moment wasn't about stepping away from duty. Catherine's commitment to her role has never been in question. Rather, it was about acknowledging that even those in high-profile positions have limits. And in doing so, it offered a rare glimpse of humanity behind the formality of royal life. The response from those within the palace, according to several reports, has been largely supportive. While not everyone may have agreed with the decision to remain silent about the pregnancy, there is growing recognition that the old ways of handling royal life might not suit modern realities. People are living longer, societal expectations are changing, and mental health is being taken more seriously across all levels of public life. Public reaction, once the news emerged, was also surprisingly empathetic. Social media was filled with posts of support, particularly from parents who understood the need for privacy during pregnancy and early parenthood. Many shared their own stories of feeling overwhelmed, applauding Catherine for taking a quieter path. Still, this shift raises questions about what the future of the monarchy might look like. If the next generation of royals chooses to blend duty with more personal autonomy, how will that affect the institution as a whole? And what role will the public play in shaping those expectations? Her early years in the royal spotlight were shaped by intense interest from the media. Every outing was covered, every expression noted. At times, the coverage was overly critical. But Catherine remained consistent in her approach. She didn't respond to headlines or chase attention. Instead, she focused on doing the work, supporting Prince William, and building a foundation based on values she had carried with her since childhood. Catherine was born in Reading, England in 1982 and grew up in a middle-class household. Her parents, Michael and Carol Middleton, worked hard to provide a comfortable and supportive home for their children. Education was a priority in their family. Catherine attended Marlborough College, where she did well academically and took part in sports and extracurricular activities. Her background was far from the aristocratic circles traditionally associated with royal spouses, but it gave her a sense of groundedness that has served her well in public life. She met Prince William at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland. Both were studying art history at the time. At first, their relationship was simply a friendship. They shared classes, lived in the same student accommodation, and got to know one another away from the spotlight. Over time, their bond grew stronger. Friends and classmates noticed how naturally they supported each other. When William briefly considered leaving university during his first year, it was Catherine who encouraged him to stay and reevaluate rather than walk away. That kind of steady encouragement has continued throughout their relationship, forming the basis of their personal and public partnership. After years of quietly dating, their relationship finally became public knowledge. The couple faced the challenge of maintaining some sense of normalcy while living under a microscope. They experienced a brief breakup in 2007, which was widely reported, but the separation didn't last. Their reconciliation made headlines and signaled to many that their connection had a deeper foundation. In 2010, during a private holiday in Kenya, Prince William proposed. The engagement was widely celebrated, not only because of the couple's long history together, but also because of the ring he chose, a sapphire and diamond piece that had once belonged to Princess Diana. The gesture was deeply symbolic and created a link between the past and the future of the royal family. Their wedding took place on April 29, 2011 at Westminster Abbey. Watched by millions across the globe, it was a formal and traditional ceremony, yet it also marked the start of something new. Catherine, now formally titled the Duchess of Cambridge, became a full member of the royal family. With that role came new responsibilities, new expectations, and a level of public attention that few people could prepare for. From the beginning, Catherine made it clear that she intended to approach her duties seriously, but in her own way. One of the most noticeable differences was her commitment to involving her own family, the Middletons, in her new life. In previous royal marriages, the bride's family often remained in the background. But Catherine maintained close ties with her parents and siblings, and William made an effort to include them. This helped create a more balanced family environment and gave Catherine a support system beyond the walls of the palace. As her public role developed, Catherine became known for her calm, thoughtful presence. She took on royal duties with care, often choosing engagements that reflected her personal interests. Mental health, early childhood development, and family well-being were not just topics she mentioned in passing. They became long-term focus areas. She visited schools, spoke with parents and professionals, and helped bring attention to how early life experiences shape children's futures. Over time, she also became more comfortable in her public role. In the beginning, public speaking wasn't her strength. She was known to be shy when addressing large crowds or giving speeches, but with practice and preparation, she improved significantly. Her public appearances became more confident, and her message felt genuine. People appreciated her willingness to grow into the role rather than arriving as a polished figure from the start. Catherine was often compared to Princess Diana, not just because of the ring she wore, but because of her growing visibility. These comparisons weren't always fair, and Catherine never attempted to replicate Diana's image. Instead, she slowly carved out her own place within the family and in the public's perception. Where Diana had brought emotion and charisma, Catherine brought steadiness and reliability. Her approach wasn't as dramatic, but it was consistent, and over time, it earned deep respect. The dynamic between Catherine, Prince William, and Prince Harry was once seen as close. The three worked together on joint projects, including the Heads Together campaign, which aimed to reduce stigma around mental health. When Meghan Markle joined the royal family, many expected the four of them to become a modern, active team. For a while, they did work closely, attending events and launching initiatives. But when Harry and Meghan stepped back from their royal duties in 2020, the balance shifted. The remaining workload grew heavier for Catherine and William, who continued to represent the crown while raising a young family. Through it all, Catherine remained focused and engaged, never stepping back from her responsibilities. One particularly memorable moment came in December 2021. During a Christmas Carol concert she had organized at Westminster Abbey, Catherine surprised viewers by playing the piano during a live performance with singer Tom Walker. Many people didn't even know she played, and the performance revealed a more personal side of her. It wasn't just a royal gesture, it was a simple, moving moment that made her feel more relatable. By choosing to take part in the performance herself, Catherine reminded people that behind the public persona was someone with her own interests, skills, and expressions of emotion. It added depth to her image and showed her willingness to share parts of her personality that weren't typically visible during formal events. In the years since, she has continued to balance her public life with her role as a mother. With 3 children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, Catherine has placed family at the center of everything she does. She has spoken publicly about the challenges and joys of parenting, and she has worked to give her children a childhood that, while shaped by royal tradition, still includes ordinary family routines. Her focus on early childhood development reflects this same belief. She has supported campaigns that promote parental support, emotional health for children, and access to early education. These efforts aren't just symbolic. They're grounded in long-term planning and reflect Catherine's belief that helping young children can shape a stronger society in the future. By 2024, Catherine had become one of the most recognized and respected members of the royal family. She had done so not by seeking attention, but by showing consistency, patience, and a genuine interest in the people she met. Her journey had not been without challenges, but it had always moved forward with intention. Her image as a public figure is built not just on polished appearances or carefully chosen words. It's built on the way she interacts with others, the time she gives to meaningful causes, and the way she stays present for her children despite the demands of royal life. This steady approach has helped shape public opinion. For many, Catherine represents a modern kind of royalty, one that respects tradition but doesn't feel stuck in the past. She shows that it's possible to fulfill the expectations of public duty while also remaining real, accessible, and sincere. For months, there were no official explanations, only quiet speculation. Catherine had always taken her role seriously, attending public events with calm focus and a strong sense of duty. Her absence felt different this time, deliberate, not just circumstantial. Behind the scenes, palace staff noticed subtle but consistent changes. She wasn't attending larger events, her schedule was lighter, and she appeared in public only occasionally, often keeping a noticeable distance from crowds and photographers. The real story, however, was far more private than anyone could have guessed. Catherine was expecting her fourth child. Unlike her previous pregnancies, this one was kept completely hidden from public view. There were no press releases or hospital sighting rumors, no media coverage tracking her maternity style or speculation about baby names. The decision to stay silent was not made out of secrecy for its own sake. It was about protecting a deeply personal moment from becoming another public spectacle. This approach marked a clear departure from the way royal births had traditionally been handled. In past decades, major milestones involving royal children had been celebrated as national events, complete with media coverage and public statements. But Catherine and Prince William had quietly decided that this pregnancy and the birth that followed would remain private for as long as possible. Only a small group of people within the royal household knew what was really happening. Even within that group, details were closely guarded. The pregnancy was not announced in advance. The due date wasn't shared. And when the baby was finally born, there was no royal easel placed outside the hospital gates, no photos of proud parents waving to crowds, and no name release to mark the occasion. Reports later suggested that the birth took place at St. Mary's Hospital in London, the same hospital where their previous children had been delivered. But instead of using the Lindo Wing, a place well known for its association with royal births, Catherine gave birth in a more private setting within the hospital. The delivery was attended by a small medical team and Prince William, with no media presence outside and no press photographers waiting nearby. Those closest to the family later described the experience as peaceful, quiet, and very emotional. After years of living under constant observation, the couple had carved out a brief period of true privacy. What followed, however, added an unexpected layer to the story. Shortly after giving birth, Catherine reportedly turned to Prince William and made a personal statement that those around them would not forget. Though the words themselves were simple, just 4 of them, the meaning behind them was powerful. She said, "I can't stand alone." These words weren't part of a speech. They weren't meant for the public or the press. They came from a mother who had just experienced the physical and emotional weight of bringing a new life into the world while also managing the pressures of being a senior royal. The moment was raw and genuine. It reflected years of balancing high expectations with personal responsibility, all while navigating public scrutiny. The confession wasn't shared widely at first. It was only later, through someone close to the family, that those 4 words reached the media. When they did, the reaction was immediate. News outlets began reporting on the story, and social media lit up with comments from around the world. Some people were surprised by the news of a 4th child, but even more people focused on the emotional truth behind Catherine's words. Public response was swift and overwhelmingly supportive. Many saw her confession not as a sign of weakness, but as a rare act of vulnerability from someone whose life is often viewed as controlled and polished. Across social media platforms, people, especially parents, shared messages of empathy. They wrote about their own moments of feeling stretched too thin, emotionally exhausted, or isolated. Catherine's brief, honest admission made her more relatable than ever. Inside the royal family, her words carried even more weight. For years, Catherine had fulfilled her duties with grace, often without complaint. She had remained composed through intense public moments and periods of private difficulty. But this time, something was different. Her confession started conversations within the palace that had often been avoided. It prompted a reassessment, not just of her workload, but of how the royal system operates and how much it demands from its members. Some reports suggested that Catherine was considering stepping back from certain public roles in the months ahead. Others believed her statement was a quiet plea for a more balanced approach to her responsibilities. Either way, it was clear that the emotional cost of her role had become more visible. The wider conversation extended beyond Catherine's personal life. It also led to fresh scrutiny of how the royal family manages support systems, mental health, and long-term expectations for its members. If someone like Catherine, with her calm presence and strong support network, could feel overwhelmed, what did that say about the demands placed on others? Her confession also added a new layer to her public image. Catherine had long been admired for her discipline, kindness, and focus. But now, people saw something deeper. She was not just the composed duchess seen at formal events. She was a mother of four, trying to manage a life where every decision could be scrutinized. And in admitting that she couldn't do it all alone, she reminded people that even the most admired public figures are still human. What stood out about this moment was not just the content of her words, but the fact that she had chosen, even indirectly, to express them. Royal life has often been built on a foundation of stoicism, of showing strength through silence. But Catherine's words broke with that tradition in a meaningful way. She didn't issue a formal statement or give an interview. She didn't seek sympathy. She simply shared how she felt in an unguarded moment. The emotional impact of her words was felt not only by the public, but also within the institution itself. In recent years, discussions about the future of the monarchy have become more common, with King Charles focusing on a more streamlined version of the royal family and Prince Harry stepping away from his royal role. The spotlight on William and Catherine has grown stronger. Now, with 4 children and increasing public responsibilities, the couple faces new challenges. Catherine's quiet confession highlighted the tension between public duty and personal capacity. It wasn't an act of rebellion. It was an honest response to a life lived under constant pressure. In the weeks that followed, Catherine returned to her public duties gradually. She appeared at selected events, continuing her work in areas she has long supported: early childhood development, mental health, and family well-being. But those close to her say that something had shifted. There was a greater awareness of the importance of setting limits, of acknowledging when help is needed, and of respecting the balance between personal life and public role. For the royal family, the moment opened up new possibilities. Could there be a more flexible way of handling royal responsibilities? Could the institution allow for more honest communication without risking its image? These questions are still being explored. Catherine's journey has always been marked by quiet strength, but this particular moment, shaped by 4 simple words, may end up being one of the most defining of her public life. It didn't happen on a stage or during an official event. It happened in a private room, after an intensely personal experience. And yet, its impact has reached far beyond the walls of the hospital or the palace. Catherine's role in this shift cannot be understated. Her journey from a private citizen to a central figure in the royal household has been gradual but steady. Her recent decision to keep her 4th pregnancy private and her emotional confession after the birth pointed to something larger, an evolving approach to royal life that puts well-being, personal agency, and authenticity ahead of formality and protocol. Inside the palace, this has sparked real reflection. There have been discussions about how duties are distributed, how public expectations are managed, and whether the current setup truly supports those who are expected to carry the institution forward. Prince William, who has long shown interest in modernizing the monarchy, appears to be considering changes not just in messaging, but in structure. It's been reported that William and Catherine have spoken about making royal life more flexible, with a stronger emphasis on family and personal balance. This doesn't mean abandoning public responsibility. Instead, it suggests a more realistic way of handling the job, one that recognizes the emotional toll it can take over time. Some sources have indicated that the couple is open to sharing responsibilities with other, less prominent royals, such as Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie. These younger family members have occasionally taken on public duties, and there may now be space for them to play more active roles. If that happens, it would mark a clear shift from the long-held idea that only the direct heirs and their spouses serve as the monarchy's public face. At the same time, public expectations are evolving. The idea of a royal family that never shows vulnerability or steps away from duty, even briefly, no longer fits with how many people see leadership today. There is growing acceptance, even appreciation, for moments of honesty, especially when they come from figures like Catherine, who has always led with calm and integrity. The public's response to her private confession made that clear. Far from damaging her image, it made her more relatable. For many, she came across not just as a royal figure, but as a mother navigating life with all its pressures, just like anyone else. That recognition has helped solidify her position not only as a future queen, but as a representative of a modern institution trying to find its place in the 21st century. While Catherine and William continue to adjust to their growing responsibilities, tensions within the royal family still exist. Some of these stem from long-standing generational divides. Others are more personal in nature. One notable example involves the dynamic between Queen Camilla and Princess Catherine. Over the years, both women have served alongside King Charles and Prince William, but in very different ways. Camilla's path into the royal family was shaped by public controversy and the challenge of overcoming historical judgment. She eventually found her footing and has taken on a full schedule of duties. Her support for King Charles is consistent, and she has made significant efforts to win over the public. But recent insights have suggested that the late Queen Elizabeth may have always viewed Catherine as the long-term anchor for the monarchy. Princess Anne, in a rare moment of openness, reportedly acknowledged that the Queen had taken a strong personal interest in preparing Catherine for a major leadership role within the family. This wasn't just about protocol, it was about mentoring, long-term planning, and ensuring the future of the monarchy was in capable hands. That kind of quiet investment didn't go unnoticed. While Queen Elizabeth gave public support to Camilla, especially during key moments like the Platinum Jubilee, her private mentorship of Catherine reflected something deeper, a belief in Catherine's ability to guide the institution forward, particularly in a world where public trust must be constantly earned. This may have created discomfort for Camilla, who had worked for years to establish her place in the royal system. The sense that someone else was being prepared for a more central role could easily lead to unease, especially when that person is younger, more popular, and increasingly visible on the global stage. Even within the extended family, reactions have been mixed. As Prince William and Catherine move toward a leadership style that includes openness, flexibility, and more family involvement, others within the family have expressed concern about maintaining the image and authority of the monarchy. Princess Anne, often seen as a stabilizing figure, has quietly worked to keep communication open and prevent deeper divisions from taking hold. Meanwhile, King Charles has had to manage these internal dynamics while also addressing his own health challenges and the pressures of leading a royal household during a time of change. His vision of a streamlined monarchy has been in the works for years, but the emotional realities of those involved, especially figures like Catherine, are forcing a more human approach to leadership. In the background, William continues to shape his role with care. He has chosen to take on more visible responsibilities gradually, often focusing on initiatives that resonate with younger generations. His work with mental health campaigns, youth programs, and digital engagement has helped make the royal family feel more accessible and relevant. But Catherine remains a key part of that picture. Her role is not just as William's partner, but as a leader in her own right. She has consistently chosen causes that matter to her: early childhood development, parenting support, and family well-being. These choices reflect her values and have positioned her as someone who brings depth and purpose to her public work. Now, with 4 children and growing public influence, Catherine is helping shape the next chapter of the monarchy. She and William are trying to build a home environment that balances tradition with normality. They attend school events, go on family outings, and choose to be present in their children's lives in ways that break from past royal norms. Their youngest child, born in private and still unnamed in public, has already played a quiet but significant role in that evolution. The choice to keep the pregnancy and birth private was more than a reaction to past media attention. It was a clear statement about control, boundaries, and the right to experience personal milestones away from public performance. There are even quiet suggestions that this child may not be pushed into the same public roles expected of previous royal children. William and Catherine appear to be creating space for their children to choose their own futures, rather than following a predetermined path based on title alone. If this turns out to be true, it could mark a major shift in how royal children are raised and presented to the world. Catherine's moment of honesty, her 4 simple words, opened the door to all of these developments. It showed that the demands placed on public figures, especially mothers and women in leadership, are often underestimated. It reminded people that strength is not always about being silent or unshakable. Sometimes it's about admitting you need support and making thoughtful changes that reflect your reality. As she continues to carry out her duties, Catherine does so with the quiet influence of someone who has earned public trust through actions, not headlines. She remains deeply committed to her family, to her role, and to shaping a monarchy that feels more human, more connected, and more capable of adapting to modern life. In doing so, she and Prince William are not just preparing for the future, they're building it now, one choice at a time. Through moments of quiet change and public service, they are helping the monarchy evolve into something more approachable and sustainable. The question is no longer whether the royal family can change. The question is how far that change can go, and whether the institution is ready to follow.